Casale, do I have you? Um, are you able to turn on your camera and your microphone? There you are. Perfect. I think you're still muted. Can you?
Disconnect your headphones and switch the audio setting on your computer. If you go up to the right, the left side of the screen, the little hamburger menu, switch your audio input. So your microphone, to just make sure it's on the computer mic. Or if you want to go to the next person, Andy, while Cassole troubleshoots, maybe.
Yeah.
It was working for him earlier.
I heard you earlier, so
Is the correct microphone selected? Just nod your head yes if it shows that it's the right mic that you usually use.
Okay. We're gonna, Castle, can I have you turn off your camera? I'm gonna have Georgie connect with you to make sure that your microphone is connected. So just turn off your camera, and we're gonna go on to the next demoer, and I'll come back to you in just a few minutes.
He might not be able to hear us. I just messaged him, so hopefully he sees the message. Or if you have his cell phone number, if you could text him, Andy, or email.
Yeah.
Okay. It's I think it just went off.
Okay, we're gonna move right on to the next demoer. Kesley, I think you might have to hit the microphone button. Georgie, are you able to close him out?
Unfortunately, if I kick him from the room, it'll just permanently block this email. Okay, I think you got it. Okay, good. Thank God.
All right, so we're going to move on to the next demo. Again, apologize for the technical difficulties. Joe Schneier from Trusty Care, if you would join me on stage. And unmute your microphone. Perfect.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, we can hear you.
I was working on it. Okay.
And then share your screen.
Yep, I got it.
Perfect. All right, I'll see you in a few minutes.
Okay, great. So excited to tell you what we're up to at Trusty Care. So my name is Joseph Schneier. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Trusty Care, and our mission is that no older adult should go through bankruptcy because of out-of-pocket healthcare costs. Sorry. So a couple things that people don't know, just a quick dive into the insurance space. 40% of Americans get insurance outside of employment. So these are things like Medicare, Medicaid, ACA markets, and 85% of them purchase their insurance through a broker. And our focus at Trusty Care is on the older adult population. And the reason for that is that they're at most risk of incurring out-of-pocket healthcare costs out of any other group in the US. And it is the biggest reason that they end up going through bankruptcy. And the way that they typically get insurance today is through a broker. But the unfortunate thing is health insurance brokers, the way that their businesses are set up is it's really the most old school, like 1995 way of running a business. A lot of in-person, collecting stuff through mail. And so even though this is the best way to ensure the financial stability of older adults, most insurance brokers don't have any tools that can help them to easily and quickly identify the right insurance products for somebody to purchase that would allow them to maintain financial stability. So what we've built at Trusty is a platform. It's designed both for brokers and for older adults. It's got a dual-facing side. I'll show you just a little bit about the broker side. I'm not going to walk you through everything because it's a little bit complicated. But so that process that typically takes about 6 weeks for a broker to do to be able to recommend the right insurance product with us, we break it down. We're able to look at what are the doctors that you're going to, what are the pharmacies you're going to. These are all things that help you reduce your healthcare costs, what medications you're taking, which is most critical part of making this decision. And then in a matter of under 5 minutes, we're able to recommend to you the right suite of health insurance products that help you to reduce your overall costs. And we are comparing this against 200 million data points with a machine learning backend. And we cover 35,000 plans that are out in the market. And so far, we're reaching hundreds of brokers that reach hundreds of thousands of individuals' lives. So our mission in our company is to make sure that we maintain financial stability for older adults. And the way that we do that is by providing the broker and financial advisory market with the tools they need to adequately get people into the right insurance plans that help them to reduce their overall costs of care. And going any more details into the product is going to be a bit overwhelming for people. So we'll get into a lot more details. So I'll just give our final asks. We're hiring for a VP of engineering. We're looking for somebody that's got experience in the health insurance market. We're always looking for more connections to small insurance companies. Those are ones that are harder for us, and we're raising a small seed extension. So I want to thank you guys for giving us the time to share with you what we're up to at Trusty, and look forward to hearing any questions you have.
You're on mute, Andy.
I seem to hit it and it doesn't want to happen. But again, thank you so much for that presentation, Joe. It was a great demo, right on time, and a fantastic product. We'll be including that ask in our next newsletter. I'm going to turn it back over to Castellet, ask him to join me back on stage, see if he's able to make that happen. If not, we'll bring Joe and Irma up for Q&A. So Castellet, let's try. I see you're back in the room. I see. Yeah, and unmute yourself. The microphone on the bottom, right next to the camera. You should see a red microphone. Down on the bottom panel, there's a present, a camera on, a microphone, and a share screen. So where you share your screen, right next to it, there's a microphone. Can you hear me? Okay, so on the very bottom of the Remo screen,
And he might not be looking at this screen. Are you trying to find the tab, Castellet? Nod your head if you, because I know sometimes people have multiple tabs. Okay, he can hear us. In the middle of the screen, right here, I'm going to share my screen really quickly. Are you seeing my screen? Type that in the chat.
yes.
Right here, this one next to the share screen button. So Cam, then hit this. Is this one for you red? It's green. Okay, that's not good.
Click on it and then click on it again.
Yeah, still try to click on it and click on it again.
Okay, we'll work on it a little bit more. I'm going to go ahead and bring the two other demoers back up for Q&A. Georgie, can you connect with Castellet through the chat and see if you can make that happen? All right, so Irma and Joe, come on up. Thank you both. Again, the marvels of technology, using browser-based systems. It's so hard. I ran a browser-based startup, and it was always difficult to troubleshoot when things were going wrong. So we'll try to get it figured out. Castellet, we'll figure it out. We'll get you on stage, I promise. In the meantime, I want to give you both the opportunity to do some Q&A. Really fantastic products, both of them very different, one health tech, one connection and remote working, both very phenomenal. I wanted to know, first of all, Joe, I think you could probably have some advice in the B2B sales arena for Irma. So I would...
Anytime.
Yeah, I would highly recommend that you connect with Joe. Yeah. This is not his first rodeo, so very extensive resource here. Awesome. I'm going to start with Irma. One, the name Cafecito, it really spoke to me, again, being Latino and just how all the conversations that happen over coffee. It's one of my favorite things to do, and I've really missed it in this time, just having those coffee conversations. So I'm really looking forward to participating in Cafecito. I'll sign up right after this. But you're entering during this COVID time, and you said that you were already building this product as a remote worker. So how has it accelerated your build and your experience as a founder to be reactive and remote working?
Yeah, so it's been super crazy.
Okay.
It's been really crazy. When I first launched this back in March, it was a meetup group on meetup.com that I validated it with, called Remote Work Lunch. And so we would all go to lunch in person and just hang out. So then from there, I ended up bringing it over to a solution that I could share with more people. So I started it off as a way to just meet people locally. So remote workers meeting locally in your city, going to a coffee shop, grabbing a cup of coffee, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and then kind of going back to work. That quickly changed because of COVID. I had to just pivot it that same week. Everybody went on lockdown that Friday. And so we went all virtual, which was crazy. The really cool thing, I think, was that since I was so early on, I was able to adapt pretty quickly. I ran into my own set of challenges picking a video service, how to email people, all these different crazy things. But thankfully, I think the timing itself, we got a lot of good traction because of COVID, which is a terrible thing. I hate that it's because of that. But it's helping a lot of people today stay connected, which makes me obviously want to keep doing it more and more. So it's been the challenges I've been facing as a first-time founder have been growing pains, kind of adapting to our growth. And then also, learning the landscape, seeking for funding, when to do that, how long should I stay bootstrapped, all these different things that they're questions that sometimes I don't have answers to. Monetization is also a huge one. But yeah, I'm just, I'm kind of day by day, just trying to learn who my audience is and just trying to create a really great product for them. At the end of the day, it's not a product for me, it's a product for remote workers. And it's really what they need. So challenging, but learning a ton.
Awesome. Very inspiring. It also really excited me that you're super early stage. And I could feel the energy that you have as a new founder radiate through the screen, which is phenomenal. And I it's been a long time since I've been a new founder. So I really enjoy that energy. And we're here to help however we can. I'm going to turn over to Joe at Trusty Quick Care. A question came through specifically about your product offering and beyond optimizing insurance, do you actually connect users to other options that they might have for reducing cost? I assume that there's kind of an educational product as well for consumers, but if you could speak to that a little bit more.
Yeah. On the consumer side of the product, we offer a whole bunch of different offerings. We have a partnership with the National Council on Aging. And so with that partnership, we're able to identify about 2,000 different public benefits that people are eligible for to reduce things, anything from an electricity bill to your medication costs. In addition to that, we're always looking for tech solutions for older adults that help them to reduce their costs of care or get better access to care, to include in our product offering on the consumer side. We have a couple now beyond just the benefits part, but our goal is for that to be a completely curated, extensive offering for the older adult.
Very awesome. That's really great. And I have to say, I took a look at the Trusty Care website, and just from the immediate video that you have created by the employees on Zoom to some of the blog content that you've created, you've done a really great job creating a sense of community around the product and a sense of resources for not only the consumers but the businesses that you're selling to. I think I highly recommend everybody checking out Trusty.care just for that part. It's done really, really well. Before we go, any quick last words from either of you about anything else that you've thought of, anything that's inspiring you lately, your reactions to Pride this month, anything at all?
I would just say I'm always excited to get trans representation in front of people as a trans CEO, to be able to show people that, you know, we are out there, and that you can be successful. So, yeah.
Awesome.
So thanks for making the space. Yeah.
Of course. And again, I feel so lucky to have you as part of this program. Just hearing about you in the ecosystem and your past products and success, I feel very privileged to have you part of this program. And so the community is here to help however we can. Irma, over to you.
Say thank you for kind of echoing Joseph, like, thank you for creating this space. It's really hard as a first-time founder, women in tech, women of color, like queer. So it's really hard to find like a community that is where I feel safe and comfortable, like just having a conversation. So I really appreciate like everything Queer Tech is doing and everything that you're doing, Andy. Yeah, just thank you for creating like such a comfortable and open space for us.
Awesome. I appreciate it. I wish we were in real life doing this in person at the Pride event. It's always been a lot of fun, and this is exactly why we do it, to highlight amazing queer founders, to create that space of representation, and to bring in the allies to participate. So thank you both again for being a part of that. I highly recommend you checking out Trusty Care website. I highly recommend you connecting with Irma. I got to speak with her for about 30 to 45 minutes, and it was a great coffee time. So connect with them both. Thank you so much. All right, I'm going to try one more time. We're going to try to bring Kasale up quickly. We'll try it one more time. I think I can hear him.
Hello?
Hello, yeah, success. Fantastic. I want you to share your screen. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
No, I can't hear you.
That's okay. Just share your screen and do the presentation. I can hear you. Now we can't hear you. No. Turn your head. We can't hear you. No. We're gonna turn your headphones back on. I think it's your headphone settings. So we heard you at the beginning, and your headphones were on and your mic was unmuted. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the next group. But whatever you did before, do it again.
Yeah.
And when I call you back, don't touch anything.
Yeah.
Just start.
So Kasale, go to the link that I messaged you.
All right.
Yeah.
So go ahead and turn off your
camera. And then Andy, go on to the next person, and I'll just try to.
Okay. So turn off your camera and your microphone one more time. And we're going to go to the next group. So next up, I forgot to share my screen with the last one, but we'll come back to it. And then next up, we're going to go right into Violet. Violet is also in the queer health space, mental health, really doing amazing stuff. Garang, awesome, I see you there. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to turn off my microphone and my camera and give you the 5 minutes. Let me hear you speak so I can make sure that you're on.
Hey there.
Awesome. Great. All right. I'll see you in a...
Sounds good. Let me share my screen. Hey, everyone. I am Grong. I'm the founder of Violet. Before we go into the demo, I simply wanted to provide a little bit of context on who we are and the genesis of Violet. I spent the past few years building Oscar Health, which is a health insurance company, and there I built numerous facets. So I worked in product for a little bit, in marketing for a little bit, and in insurance product, building insurance plans as well as pharmaceuticals. One thing that I was a big proponent of was how do we actually improve healthcare for the queer community? Being a health insurer, we had the luxury of actually seeing how every single dollar is moving. One of the initiatives we tried to launch was actually having an indicator that said, this specific provider is queer competent to this degree. Unfortunately, that does not exist just because there is no centralized data source that says to which degree a provider is queer competent. So with Violet, we're taking a stab at actually building that roster of data. So at Violet, we are building a network of queer competent mental health providers. And we define queer competent as really a few things, but in essence, we're looking for providers that focus on the queer community in terms of their educational specialty, or they have a lot of hands-on experience. And then another key element is we do want them to be integrating the community resources that are available for our community. So if a provider is working with a queer client, we do want them to be able to reference other nonprofits and community organizations that exist. So unlike other therapist matching websites, which I know there's quite a few, one of the things we've tried to do is have all of our questions be especially focused on the queer community. So this is simply an MVP. So from our base product, we ask what are some subject areas that an individual is interested in speaking about. So for our demo, we'll select anxiety and sexual orientation. We ask who's attending the session, whether the individual is going by themselves or with their partners. I'm pretty excited. We're launching pediatric care as well fairly soon, which should actually be a pretty big value add. Similarly, we ask where they're located. With COVID and quarantine, everything is delivered through telehealth, but all of our providers do have offices in person, and they do accept clients in person as well. It's really up to the client and the provider to gauge what their delivery medium will be. And then this is the part that's a little bit innovative / neat. One of the things that I care a lot about is making mental health care more accessible. Plenty of providers offer sliding scale slots, but the logistics of actually being able to book a sliding scale slot are somewhat onerous. So sliding scale slots are a way in which the provider can kind of give back to the community. All this means is they allocate certain number of hours for individuals that are low income that can actually get care for a heavily reduced amount. So we actually work with each provider to formalize this. So as we are onboarding providers, we ask them what their sliding scale structure looks like, if they have any, and then we formalize those rates so that people can book those rates at that respective price point. So for our example, we'll actually select 30 to 40,000. And then the final question is name and email. We use this to follow up if a specific patient doesn't end up booking. We simply follow up to learn about, hey, can we actually find a provider that is a better fit for you that you didn't see on our platform? So with that search, in a very simplistic fashion, we are surfaced with a few different providers. We can load more if we want to. Otherwise, we can actually spend a little bit of time reading on the provider. So this is Ryan. We see Ryan's pronouns. And then similarly, we see a little bit about Ryan's areas of expertise and really what makes him queer competent / his focus areas. We see the price point in a very transparent fashion, and we can book our initial intro call with Ryan here. One of the things we're also heavily promoting is quote unquote therapist shopping, but this notion of, hey, it's okay to talk to multiple therapists before you pick one. This way, they actually, the patient kind of can have a sense of solace about, hey, I chose the one that was best for me, in the sense of just personality fit as well as extroversion, introversion, etc. And this is Violet. Looking forward to seeing the questions.
Thank you so much, Garang. Quickly, what's your ask for the community?
Good question. Our ask for the community is we're still in the MVP phase. So if you have any friends looking for therapists, or if you yourself are looking for a therapist, I'd love feedback. Similarly, if you have a therapist that you've connected with really well, I'd love to learn more about what made that relationship so strong.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to ask you to leave the stage. We're going to move right on to the next demoer. Derek from Queerly Health, come on up. I've known Derek for quite a while. I've seen him pitch in all kinds of demo presentations. He's a fantastic presenter. I'm so excited to have you. I'm so glad that we were able to get you on as a of developing pride. I'm going to shut up now, turn off my camera, turn off my microphone, and let you have this.
Thank you, Andy. So, hopefully, can everyone see my screen okay? Yeah, perfect. Let me know, just yell at me if you can't hear me or see me for some reason. So my name is Derek Reyes. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Queerly Health. Just want to take a second to acknowledge the fact that we're based in New York. We're a company that's built in New York. I'm from New York originally. My family's been here for a really long time, and we've been through a lot over the past few months. And I believe we're a really resilient city and really resilient people, and we're gonna just keep moving along. So my background is in LGBTQ plus health, education, and social services, as well as human development and social intervention. And I've worked for the mayor's office before in city government and clinical research with the LGBTQ plus community and in the nonprofit space. Right now, Queerly Health is in a startup program at Samsung Next New York. It's a really fantastic community. So the problem with LGBTQ plus health, as many of us know, is that we experience many barriers to access and gaps in access, like cost, location, discrimination, anti-LGBTQ plus health laws, and lack of provider knowledge. And this ultimately ends up leading to LGBTQ plus specific health disparities. A lot of that has to do with the fact that we often end up avoiding healthcare settings completely or delaying visiting healthcare settings when we need to. So Queerly Health is just as much a social intervention as we are a social enterprise. We're looking to completely interrupt that cycle. And this is a demo example. So this is someone we're calling Alex, and they're gender non-binary, and they're, let's say, new to New York City. And they realize they haven't seen a provider in quite some time, a general care provider, a primary care provider. And oftentimes what LGBTQ plus people do is we ask a friend or we go onto the internet and we're like, hey, can anyone recommend a good LGBTQ plus primary care provider? And then, of course, there's all sorts of specifications. And a lot of times what ends up happening is we're kind of a guinea pig for a provider who may or may not be LGBTQ plus affirming and competent. And there's varying degrees to that. Like, are you just not going to be a jerk to me in this healthcare setting, all the way up to practitioners who specialize in LGBTQ plus care. So the way that we're envisioning it is Alex coming onto our website, and then that's where Alex can browse providers by name and specialty and area, availability, and even insurance accepted. And then once, there we go. And then once Alex finds a provider that they feel comfortable with and has availability, they can see where they can choose an appointment, either through an in-person visit, phone call, text, or chat, and then book that appointment, and it's super easy. And Alex knows that this particular practitioner is LGBTQ plus affirming because they've already gone through a vetting process, a training process before coming onto our marketplace, so they don't have to do that legwork themselves. Security and privacy is really important to us, especially now, as a lot of companies are coming under fire for breaches in security or misusing patient data. This is Meg. She's our COO and co-founder. She comes from companies like Octave and One Medical, where she's done senior ops. And we call her our compliance queen because we're making sure we're building out Queerly Health to be completely HIPAA compliant and go above and beyond the regulations for that. And that includes things like safely stored user data, end-to-end encryption of user data, privileged access protocols, etc. This is JP. He is our CTO and co-founder, and he hails from companies like Morgan Stanley, NASDAQ, and IBM Watson. We've been featured in Forbes and South by Southwest, yesterday in Supermaker, and today in NASDAQ. Our advisors come from a whole bunch of backgrounds, and they've worked for these amazing organizations and companies. I should point out that one of our advisors worked for the White House prior to 2016. We're a registered benefit corporation, so that means that we, at our core, have a social impact. And for us, that's to completely eliminate LGBTQ plus health disparities by 2030. So Queerly Health, we're positioning ourselves in this digital health space where you have companies like Maven for family care, women and reproductive health care, Oi Health for Spanish speakers and Latin Americans, Fuzzy for pets, and then we all just heard from Violet and Trusted Care as well. The LGBTQ plus community has a spending power of $1 trillion in the United States. And with that comes the power to choose the health and wellness services that we want and deserve instead of being overlooked by the traditional healthcare system. And this month, on this last day of Pride Month, we celebrate 51 years of Pride, and I'm looking forward to the next 51 years.
Thank you so much, Derek. I'm going to ask you to stay on stage. I'm going to ask Garang to come back up. We're going to do Q&A with you two, and then we'll. I heard Kasalei's tech is working, so then we'll go to Kasalei and finish up with Gabriel. So we'll start the Q&A with both Violet and Queerly Health. I've been a fan of Queerly Health for a very long time. I met Derek pretty much at the beginning of your journey, so it's been great to see you progress. And then Garang, I was so excited to connect with you. In our conversation, I really told you my own struggles with finding a therapist, a queer therapist, a therapist of color. I still have yet to find that person. So I completely, really love the idea of therapist hopping, because I think it is really important. You know, when you find that right person to talk to, it really does help along the same lines. And when they don't have the same lived experiences or the same understanding of the lived experiences, it can create different areas. So thank you both for working in this field. Such an important and admirable place to begin. I'm going to start with Derek. You know, I've seen your journey go from idea to actually starting to build product. You know, how long have you been at it, and what are the things that really surprised you along that way, that you had in your mind one way and then it completely made you pivot and move in a different direction?
Sure. So we've been at it since September of 2018, after winning a startup weekend event competition. I just hit the ground running ever since with that. And 2019 was really cool because I just spent this whole year building out a team and working together, prototyping and meeting with other founders, and being featured in really cool publications, which is amazing. And I'm so appreciative of the PR support. But one thing that I've really has been central to what our process of building this out is actually meeting with LGBTQ plus affirming practitioners, right? And then like the individual patient client users as well. And every part of Queerly Health, the digital health offerings, the marketplace, the different types of features. So one thing we're doing as well is you'll be able to search practitioners based on like gender identity and race ethnicity, because that's super important. Patient concordance is super important. Everything has come up either through validated by data or our target users. So that was like a bit of a surprise. And I always knew that we would have to incorporate the feedback of our target population, but it really feels like they built it with us, because they were like, can we have this please? And we're like, yes.
That's amazing. Garang, a very similar question. You're at the beginning of your journey in building Violet, and you have a background of working for a very well-known health tech company, Oscar. You know, what did that experience kind of allow you to start with, and what has surprised you along your journey?
Great question. Coming from Oscar, one of the things that gave me an advantage was I've spent 4 years advocating for our community and thinking from the point of the insurer. So we spend a lot of time, and especially having been one of the individuals leading our LGBT affinity group, we spent a lot of time thinking about how do we actually improve healthcare for our queer patients. And Oscar being mostly in really big cities, we actually have a disproportionately large number of queer individuals. So it was really fun for us to actually think about how do we improve healthcare for the queer community. So I kind of knew some of the problems coming into building Violet. And we've only been at Violet a very short amount of time. It's been about 4 or 5 months. And one of the things that so far I found the most surprising has really just been how supportive the community has been. I'm a part of quite a few Slack different workplaces where whether it's queer design firm or queer tech, there is a bunch of different queer community like intersections where people really want to go out of their way to help build things for the community. And that's something we're really trying to build within Violet as well.
Awesome. That's a great question, actually, for both of you. What are your favorite queer resources as you're building products that are focused and targeted towards the queer community? Like, what are the podcasts that you listen to? What are the books that you read? And what are the communities that you belong to? Either one of you. Let's start with Derek.
Okay, sure. So I'm now part of the NY Tech Alliance community, so it's great to be here for my first demo here. I've been a part of, before I even started building out Queerly Health, I was a part of the startup community and also the Out in Tech community. And a few of the folks and people that I've been following that really influenced me, that are LGBTQ plus people, especially of color themselves, are folks like Arlen Hamilton, for example, who really trailblazed the way for marginalized populations in VC land. And also the Founder Gym community, which it's specifically designed for founders who are of marginalized populations. Like, that's been such a really cool community to be a part of. It's all remote, digital first, but when I had to go up and down the West Coast pitching and going to conferences, I stayed at people's houses that I met there. So
Awesome.
That was really cool.
Awesome. And Garan?
Similarly, for me, Out in Tech has been immensely powerful. I've been blown away by the sheer number of individuals that are in their Slack overall environment, especially because there's intersectionality of everything from areas of interest as well as like identities of that individual. So it's nice to be able to find precisely people that I have questions for or that like I would like feedback from.
Awesome. Yeah. And just to reiterate, there's a number of LGBTQ in tech organizations, especially here in the United States. The big three are Lesbians Who Tech, which phenomenal. Leanne Pittsford is phenomenal. She's one of the reasons that I also started Queer Tech, and her summits are phenomenal and open to everyone. Out in Tech, which is a general LGBTQ's in tech group, and then Start Out, which really focuses on connecting entrepreneurs to funding. So all three organizations, really phenomenal groups. I highly recommend checking them all out. I have to say that maybe our attendance isn't so high because Out in Tech had an event tonight, but but that's quite all right. I love everyone who's involved with all the organizations, and it's really fantastic to see the queer community really get the support that they need in building in tech. So thank you both for participating tonight. Thank you so much for sharing what you're building. I'm really excited to see where both of them go. I'm a big fan of both you, Derek, and Garan, and the products that you're building. So please let me know if there's any way that I can help in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That.
Awesome. And okay, that brings us to our last two demoers. Kesselay, one more time. Let's bring you back up to stage. Georgie told me that everything is working correctly. Yes? Can you hear me? I can hear you.
Perfect. That's amazing.
So let's share your screen, and then I will turn it over to you to take it from here.
Perfect. I'd first like to really thank Georgie for all the help she gave me and for her patience. My computer didn't work too well today, unfortunately, but thank you, Georgie. So right now I'm going to present my startup. It's called 5 Minutes of Science, and it's a platform to university researchers, whether they are PhD, full professors, postdoc, even master students with industry, And our idea is to turn our goal is to turn ideas into reality, into valuable products and services, into programs. So I got the idea when I was visiting my home country of Congo. I was talking to a professor who was working on ways to on better ways to grow cassava, which is a very important crop for us. And she had really cool ways to grow cassava, like to increase cassava yield. But unfortunately, very few farmers knew about her research. Actually, none of them knew about her research, the small farmers. So is there a way to connect that researcher with the farmers? And many farmers are unable to read, they're unable to read academic papers because they're very complicated and the literacy rate is pretty low. So I thought the best way to do it is through videos. So that's where the idea came from, right? The idea is if professors can explain what they do in a very easy way, it'd be really easy for them to connect with partners outside of academia. So at 5 Minutes of Science, basically it's, as I said, it's a platform to connect researchers and industry, or researchers themselves. So basically, as you can see, it's a very simple platform. So what they do is they create their own, each professor can create their own profile, each researcher can create their own profile, where there's a video of them answering 3 questions. Introduce yourself, explain your research, and describe why it's important. The videos are very well produced. We produce them ourselves. We produce them ourselves. So professors can film themselves using their smartphones, and we produce them. And their names, the summary of the research, the type of researchers they are, and a bit of transcripts. And on the industry side, our platform is open to everybody. And as you can see, through the platform, they can search for researchers based on what they study, based on what they do, right? So here, if I do one type artificial intelligence, you're gonna see all the researchers that we have that work on artificial intelligence, including Yoshua Bengio, Terry Peckham, all this stuff. That's really what we do. My ask for you guys is very important for me, actually. We have a lot of researchers working on engineering and sciences and all those things. But I really want to work more with researchers who deal with social issues, right? I want to deal with researchers who are LGBT, people of color, because research community, especially LGBT and people of color. So if you know anybody who is LGBT, people of color, who work with social issues, please, can you please let us connect with each other so we can profile them, so I can put them in contact with our industry partners. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kasile. That was a great, I'm glad that we were able to get that to work out, and a fantastic ask for the community. We will definitely be including that in our newsletter. I'm going to ask you to stop sharing your screen and exit stage, and then we're going to bring up our last demoer for the evening. Gabriel Cepeda from Pickups, come join us on stage. Thank you so much for being patient and for being our last demoer this evening. I'm going to go ahead and disappear.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Gabriel. I started a company called Pickups. So when we started, we were an app that would connect you with a neighbor nearby that would allow you to ship your package to. So essentially, we built a Google Chrome browser extension that would work for the Amazon checkout page. You could skip typing in your shipping address information. We would connect you with a neighbor based on proximity and schedule, and then we would connect you through text so that you could coordinate a time for pickup. So it's a relatively simple idea, trying to stop the package theft problem that so many New Yorkers. So then that was the focus, and then COVID-19 happened. And we we had to go back to the drawing board and really take a pause on bringing people together for obvious reasons. And in that pause, we were able to realize that we weren't fully realizing the max potential of our neighbor network. You'd be surprised what people are willing to do when given the flexibility to make money and work on their own terms from home. And so one of the areas that we decided to explore was potentially being involved with the retailer and the end customer a little further up the supply chain. And the reason why we think that's a much stronger idea for us is because the reason why your packages may go missing, or you may not know where it is, or the retailer might not even know where it is because in the supply chain world, there are a lot of touch points. So when you order something online, from the moment it leaves that manufacturing facility in China or Pakistan or wherever that item is made to your front door, if it were to happen like that, there are easily a dozen individual touch points, trucks that it stops along the way, it's just very complicated. And so you have all these different entities and none of them are integrated at all. And so the retailer usually knows as much about where your stuff is at any given moment as you do. And so because of that, one of the ideas that we have is to be involved at the fulfillment level, what we call fulfillment by everyone. So this idea that people can leverage the extra space in their apartments, underneath the bed, closet, space in the living room, to hold inventory in small quantities for different retailers. This sort of idea of distributed fulfillment would allow for same-day delivery, would allow for almost like an invisible back room for pop-up stores or temporary retail experiences that a lot of these brands are now starting to experiment with. The second aspect of our platform now is called RB, which is Returns by Everyone. This idea that we can allow shoppers to deliver, to drop off their returns at any neighbor nearby for a virtual inspection of the item. Sort of the same thing that a retailer right now has to spend a lot of money to get that returned item back to their warehouse. We would and then have an employee inspect it and all that. We would let the retailer simply communicate those quality standards of inspection to us. And we could then let one of our neighbors do that inspection. And using our data, our AI, help the retailer to see which scenario makes sense. Should this item, based on its quality or what condition it's in, should it be sent to, donated? Should it be recycled? Should it be sold on a third-party marketplace? A variety of scenarios that are using our technology, these retailers can make a smart data-driven decision for. And then the third aspect is DB, which is delivery by everyone. The idea that if an item is fulfilled from John, who lives on 87th Street in New York City, we don't have to necessarily have UPS deliver it or USPS, which would be expensive. We could have a nearby neighbor on our app that's available that wouldn't mind walking the 10 blocks and making themselves $7, $8. They could go ahead and make that delivery. Plus, it's cheaper than partnering with Postmates because Postmates will charge you another like $20 for no reason. So by us controlling all three aspects of the ecosystem, it creates a much more eco-friendly approach to same-day delivery, specifically because of packaging. Shorter distance means you don't necessarily need the expensive cardboard. And at the same time, it enables same-day delivery. It enables just a variety of benefits. I could go on for days about that. But that's essentially our concept. That's what we've evolved into. It started off as just about package theft, and now we're really a 3PL full service in reality. Completely behind the scenes, white label, looking to partner with large mid-market at minimum companies, your Fashion Novas, your hopefully your Gaps of the world, and those kinds of brands. Our ask for this organization is we're looking to really just grow our team. Right now we're a team of 4, 3 engineers and myself. We have a great list of advisors from a variety of different backgrounds in the education space and logistics, media. We got some really great press this past holiday season, which we were very grateful for. That's pretty much it. So I'm open to any questions that anybody might have. It's a short presentation, but I wanted to keep it straightforward to the point.
Awesome. And you're right in the middle of a transition, correct?
Yes. Yeah. Literally in the middle of it all.
Awesome. Thank you, Kasale. Come back up. We're going to do some Q&A with both you and Gabriel. I thank you both for participating in the program today. Again, thank you for your patience, Kasale, as we got everything worked out. And Gabriel, thank you for presenting during a pivot. So to start with, I think I want to start with Kessler, and this Kessler is joining us from Montreal, and the tech ecosystem there in Montreal. Your ask is to connect to tech industry experts so that you can connect them to these educational experts, academic experts. Can you talk a little bit about like what? I know that's the pure goal of your product, but can you talk a little bit about what those connections, why those connections are so special, and why they're necessary to get this learning out into the world?
Yeah. So basically, there's, as I mentioned, there's so much good research being done in university, right? In all aspects. Right now we have a lot of science engineering, but there's so much good research. We have some people in Africa, in South Africa, and in Ghana, and our goal is really to let it shine, right? To let it shine, to make sure that those researchers work so hard on their thesis, on the research, to make them connect. And right now, there's so much. There's a lot of people in the LGBT community and in the people of color who are do not get that same recognition. Their work is not as recognized, right? And really, our goal with this event is really we want to make sure that we get as many scientists that are people of color, LGBT, on our platform to make sure that they get that recognition, that they are also able to work with industry partners, right? So as scientists in the LGBT community, we're able to work with a startup like Gabrielle's, right? And basically maybe make a startup, right? By building that connection. Or maybe a scientist will be able to work with an NGO that works with gay youth, that works with gay who are hopeless, right? And basically transfer that skill to that organization. Right now, that organization doesn't know that they exist. Our goal is to connect the two, to make their operations so much more, so much better.
Yeah, I've seen it work in the past, especially around like cognitive marketing and cognitive computing, which is a new industry in the AI field, and having a startup entrepreneur have this idea of where they want the product to go, and then connect with somebody in the academic ecosystem that's an expert that can help guide them in how to build the product and what things they need to be aware of while they're building the product. So that connection between industry and academia is super important, especially as some of these startup founders are thinking through the new processes and the cutting edge technology that exists. I'm going to turn it over to Gabriel right now. One of the things that fascinated me from the conversation that we had in preparing for this event was the fact that he's building basically 3 whole products in one, and while trying to encompass this entire ecosystem, and one that's a super audacious goal, but also quite intriguing. And I can't imagine that there's not some things that you're trying to some problems that you're trying to solve in putting those 3 pieces together. That might not be helpful. That might be helpful from a platform like 5 Minutes of Science. But Gabriel, to that point, you're building these 3 kind of ecosystems simultaneously, using what you're calling neighbors. Can you speak a little bit to that and some of the challenges that you're experiencing in putting these 3 layers together?
Yeah. So, thank you for the question. So, in terms of the neighbor acquisition, it's actually been relatively easy to build the ecosystem for neighbors. I know that I guess technologically speaking, on a mobile app like we're building for the neighbors, there are 3 different ecosystems, because managing whatever returns you might be holding versus whatever inventory you might be holding versus whatever deliveries you might be making. So there are 3 different aspects of what the mobile app for neighbors might be, but ultimately they're still the same user. Freelancers, remote employees. We've been able to bring on well over 1,000 spread throughout Manhattan and Brooklyn. And in terms of signing neighbors up, it's been relatively low cost. Craigslist is initially, but we've created different incentives, or at least are looking to get it off the ground, where neighbors will sign up each other and have incentives to onboard other neighbors in their neighborhood or another town. So believe it or not, I think from a tech standpoint, we're still working out how we intend on the mobile app being set up so that you can really be part free. the flexibility of schedule is. But in terms of just getting neighbors in general, the strategy sort of is the same for each of them.
Awesome, that's great.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and you've COVID has caused this pivot for you to happen. Can you speak a little bit more to that?
Definitely. Yeah, so the essence of Pickups prior to 2 months ago was B2C. We connected shoppers with the flexibility to ship it to someone so that it wouldn't be stolen or they wouldn't have to go to the post office. But given that COVID, this is not a permanent thing. Eventually we will go back to, in some capacity, people obviously have to leave their homes and will engage with each other. But for the time being, just because people can't leave their apartments to go, to someone else doesn't mean, they can't utilize the extra space they have in their apartment, essentially monetizing that space and their time at home. But in reality, it's something we're already thinking about for a while. It's just, we thought it'd be a great way to first start small with like some sort of B2C approach and then grow our way out. But we realized throughout this time that brands now more than ever before are questioning the reliability of their supply chain. They're questioning the relationship they have with their customers. They're trying to, Gap is behind on rent as an example. They're realizing the days of having a 5-story, massive store in Park Avenue and paying $20 million a year, whatever the rent is, it's not feasible. So they're cutting down the real estate space. They're building more like pop-up shops and experiential shopping type of retail environments. And so because of that, having a more flexible way to store their inventory is something that they're now more open to than they would have been 2-3 years ago. And then Amazon obviously is speeding it up every day. So the pressure to move faster, the pressure to innovate and adapt is the middle of that. So in whatever way we can.
No, I think it's really great. I know that we had a really in-depth conversation about the potential ecosystem that exists, and it was really exciting to hear someone be thinking about it in a new way. So congratulations on that, and I'm really looking forward to where you go. I'd like to have you back when you have the app ready so that we can see it in action.
For sure.
And Castellet, I know during this time it's been really important. Like your whole goal of the product is to connect people that don't exist within the same ecosystem to each other. And so I imagine that this new move to digital workforce and remote working has really helped in your messaging, or how has that impacted?
Definitely, it really has helped because before researchers, professors relied on conferences because all the conferences have been canceled. Now they see the value of just connected, building a relationship online. That has really helped out.
Awesome. Any parting words from either of you before we head off, or anything about Pride or about building the product, or just the ecosystems in general that you'd like to share?
Well, I'm personally excited for all the innovation that I'm seeing out of not just POC community, LGBTQ community, but across the board. There's just so much. I guess there's always been, but just now more than ever, I'm seeing all this massive ecosystem of entrepreneurs and people wanting to solve problems. Maybe because this time has shed so much light on what's wrong with the world. So maybe there are more people speaking outward about this, their ideas for how to make it better. And I think it's very exciting. It's great to be in the middle of it all. I wouldn't want to be born in another time. I think I'm ready.
Yeah, same with me. Like after the 2008 recession, there were so many good companies that were, but I think that the silver lining with this pandemic is there's gonna be even more great ideas being solved. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for participating. It was such a pleasure to connect with you over the last couple of weeks and just hear everything that you're connecting. I'm here and available however we can help you in the future. And thank you again. A round of applause for our last group of demoers. And again, thank you for your patience with the technology. All right. And with that, I'm going to see if we have any participants that want to come up and do a quick 30-second pitch. Just hit me up in the chat. Thank you, Castellet and Gabriel. Have a good evening, and then we'll see. If not, I just want to quickly, again, thank all of the demoers that participated tonight. I am going to ask that when we share the videos, that we share out, that you who attended tonight, share it out to everybody in your network. Again, 9 phenomenal companies, 9 queer creators. This is why we do this. Developing Pride has been one of my favorite events that I do every year. It's a passion project. It's why we Nofel and I created Queer Tech as well. So help us queer the tech ecosystem. And thank you all so much for participating tonight. Hope you have a fantastic evening. If you want to stick around and connect with the demoers, they'll be in the networking piece. Thank you so much. Have a great night.